South Korea's Prime Minister Lee Wan-koo has offered to resign after facing accusations of accepting bribes, just 2 months into his post. Mr. Lee denies accepting 30 million won, $27,700, 18,600 pounds, in illegal campaign funds from businessman Sung Wan-jong. A note left by Sung, who died in an apparent suicide earlier this month, listed 8 figures he claimed to have bribed, including Mr. Lee. President Park Geun-hye has called for a thorough investigation. She is due to decide on his resignation after she returns from Peru, where she is on a state visit. Under South Korean law, politicians cannot accept more than 100,000 won in contributions. Mr. Lee had denied knowing Sung, the boss of a construction company, very well, but media reports have suggested otherwise. Sung, who was himself under investigation for corruption, was found earlier this month hanging from a tree by his tie. Sung told a local newspaper before his death that he gave 30 million won to Mr. Lee in 2013 when he was seeking re-election for parliament. He was about to be questioned by authorities over allegations that he embezzled company money to bribe politicians. An opposition party has called for Mr. Lee's impeachment. Decision next week. Referring to Mr. Lee's resignation, Ms. Park said in a written statement, "I find it regrettable. I also feel sympathy for the agony of the Prime Minister." Yonhap reported that she would decide on whether to accept Mr. Lee's resignation by next week. Mr. Lee filled the number 2 position of Prime Minister after a protracted hunt for a candidate to replace his predecessor, Chung Hong-won. Mr. Chung resigned shortly after the Seoul ferry disaster in April 2014 that killed more than 300 people. He was kept on for several months as Ms. Park looked for a successor. 2 candidates withdrew their candidacies after being accused of wrongdoing, before the job went to Mr. Lee.